Hello friends, Amy R here with Prairie Paper and Ink, back with another STAMPtember limited edition exclusive. This one is with Newton's Nook, and this is the Pocket Full of Happy stamp set. So I started off with some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110 pound cardstock. I went with the heavier weight cardstock for a good reason this time. And I'm stamping a couple of the little characters from this Pocket Full of Happy stamp set onto this cardstock with Simon's Intense Black ink. I went with heavier weight cardstock because I'm going to do a little technique that I have not done in, probably well over a decade, I think. It's been a long time. I was actually surprised I still had the little like scrap of denim. I had to like hunt through my office because I was like, of course, that one time you want to go use something in all these years, and I actually got rid of it, but I hadn't. So everything was good. So anywho, have these images stamped, and I'm starting off with just coloring the pockets. That's it. So using blues for this, and when I get to my lightest blue, I found it was just a little bit too light. So just like I did in a previous video, I'm going to take the medium blue shade and take the lid off it. And I'm just touching the tips of the markers together so that the lighter shade picks up a bit of that medium shade. And it just gives that enough of a little bit of a transition, and then it's good to go. So after I've colored in these pockets, I have my Copic Colorless Blender refill. You need the refill for this. Of any refills you get, if you get Copic Markers, I highly recommend getting a refill of the Colorless Blender. I've literally emptied an entire bottle of this. Like, I've refilled my Colorless Blender so many times. So I have the refill, and I have this little scrap of denim. You can use any type of cloth for this. I have an old washcloth that I've done this with that gets a more like dotted texture, and that works like on little bears and that sort of thing. And I put a bit of the refill on it, and then I press it down on top of the image. And this is what it does. So, because the colorless blender, it doesn't remove color, it just pushes whatever Copic colors you've colored further into the cardstock. So by pushing it on top of this textured cloth, the cloth is pushing that colorless blender. So the first time I did it on the cat image, it was really saturated. It was, fresh. So it really pushed the color through. And then by the time I got to the dog image, so much had been absorbed. So I did it a few times. So it's just something fun to play with. And that's why you want a thicker, heavier weight cardstock, because it gives you more wiggle room. If you're using the thinner cards like the 80 pound that I normally use, it's going to push, because the color has to have somewhere to go. So it's going to push it out way further past the stamp lines. It did push on the cat one a bit more because I had so much saturated. But I'm not worried about it with this because I'm going to fussy cut these anyway. But just something to keep in mind. It's fun. It's fun to kind of experiment. You could just color scraps if you wanted, and then try different cloths with the colorless blender refill and just see what kind of textures you can get. Again, I haven't done this in forever, but it's a really fun little technique, and it's like removing the masking paper and heat embossing and all those things. It's just fun to see what's going to happen. So I kept the rest of my coloring super simple, colored in these little characters, and then added my little white gel pen highlights to everything. And then I fussy cut out both of these. This set is available with a coordinating die set. I don't have the coordinating die set, but I'll link to it. And after I fussy cut these, I quickly edged everything with my Memento Tuxedo black marker, just to remove that white edge of the cardstock, so it looks like I did a much better job of cutting everything out. And then once I have everything edged on here, I have a couple little die cut banners. I used a Trinity Stamps wafer die set, and I'll get to the die set in a minute. But I die cut a couple banners from some Doodlebug pattern paper, and I'm going to line these up in my mini MISTI, and I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments. This little Pocket Full of Happy set not only does it have little characters, but it has some like buildable sentiments, which I thought was really cute. So I lined up one of the sentiments on top of these banners, and I'm just going to stamp this sentiment with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink onto this. And I'm going to stamp each of them twice just to make sure I get a really solid sentiment on both of them. And then I'm going to build my sentiments onto some just white cardstock here. So figuring out where I want my little banner to be, and then the rest of the sentiment. So the second part of the sentiment I'm going to stamp with the Simon's Intense Black ink, because I'm going to do a little Copic coloring on those as well. And then the bottom portion of the sentiment I'm actually going to stamp with some Concord 9th Midnight ink. On camera, I don't even know if you can tell the difference. It's subtle because it's such a dark blue, but it was just a little something. So inked up the stamp with that so that the sentiments are going to say, sending you a pocket full of positive thoughts. Again, anyone who knows me, I like the punny sentiments. I really like Newton's Nook. They're characters. They're another brand that has a very distinctive style. And they're cute little characters, especially like their little cat and they've got their little puppies. And they're just so cute. So I stamped all my sentiments. I colored in the outline word of that pocket with the same blues I did on the little characters. And then I had die cut some more of that Doodlebug pattern paper with the scalloped wafer die set. This is the Trinity Stamps narrow card and envelope die set. And I'm going to make an envelope to match this, but I'll get to the envelope later. So I die cut the pattern paper with that scallop wafer die. And my card bases are 3 inches by 6 inches. So they're basically like mini slimline cards, just slightly off from a 4-bar size. I've made a few 4-bar size cards on my channel over the years. But yeah, I got this die set and I was like, ooh, this will give me an excuse to try a slightly different card size while still having envelopes. Because I've had people asking me, I think it was about this size too. And I was like, oh, I don't plan on it because I don't have envelopes for these, even though, because like they're too long to fit in an A2 envelope. So anyway, made my card bases. So you just need a 6 inch by 6 inch piece of cardstock. Scored it at 3 inches. So then I've got my 3 inch by 6 inch little mini cards here. I stamped another sentiment from the Pocket Full of Happy set with that Midnight ink. And then there's this little cute little outline paw image in the set as well. And I'm stamping that with gray ink on the inside of both of these cards. Just keeping the insides kind of simple. So doing that with both of these cards. And then once I've got the insides stamped, I am going to adhere all the layers to create the card fronts. So I've got my little scallop pattern paper layer, my base layer, I guess I'll call that, and then my little banner, and then my little critter in his little pocket. So I'm going to adhere all those together with craft tacky glue, because I love my craft tacky. It gives me, you know, that wiggle room, and then once it's dry, it's not going anywhere. So adhered all those together, and then I'm going to adhere this to my card base. And then I'm going to repeat the process for card number 2. That's why I did 2 cards, because working with a smaller card size, it kind of lets you focus more on like smaller images, that sort of thing. And I thought since I was doing slightly smaller cards, I would do 2. So the pattern paper is Doodlebug, of course. I have a massive amount of 12 by 12 Doodlebug paper. I'll link to the pack I used here. This is the Party Time. Yeah, Party Time 12 by 12 paperback. So there was 2 of these blue patterns in there, which is perfect. So I die cut them to create these cards. And then as a little bit of embellishment, I have these Trinity Stamps Tic Tac Mix. They're heart jelly drops, they're called. But jelly is misleading. They're not squishy. I don't know. I hear the word jelly and I think squishy. They're not. They're just like enamel, really smooth little enamel hearts in several sizes. I'm quite happy with these. So I stuck several of these onto these cards and I'm just going to adhere them into place with little dabs of craft tacky glue and my Studio Caudia embellishment wand. And I'm going to do that with both cards. So once both of my cards are done, I just need to create my envelopes. So with that narrow card and envelope die set, you have the base and the flap. You die cut the flap twice. You die cut the base once. Then all I got to do is fold on all the score lines because the wafer dies, they cut and score at the same time. So I fold in all of the little tabs on here because that's where the adhesive is going to go. And on these larger flaps, I just apply adhesive to the narrower tab and I'm using 1/4 inch score tape for this. So apply my score tape to both of these tabs and then I'm going to peel off the backing of the score tape. And then I just need to line up the edge of the base with the score line. And I kind of use my grid mat just to get everything straight. So then I line up the edge with the score line, press it down, and then I flip this around and do the exact same thing with the other side. Line up the edge with the score line, make sure everything is centered, press it down. and then fold over both of those flaps, and I'm going to apply the score tape to the very edge of one of these flaps. Get that up here into place, peel off the backing of this one, and then I can fold over the other flap and press those together. And then all I need to do now is to add some adhesive to this bottom smaller flap. And then later I'll add adhesive to the top one, like the same score tape, to seal it, but I'm not going to seal it up till I fill everything in. So peel off the backing to that, and this creates this fun little narrow envelope. So super fun. I did this for both cards, and that was it. So the Newton's Nook set is limited edition. The wafer die set's not. It's just part of Trinity Stamps release. But this Newton's Nook STAMPtember set is only while supplies last. So I'll have a link to it, as well as the link to the combo set with the wafer dies, in the description box below the video. I'll also have links to everything else I used. I'll have a link to my blog post, so you can check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye!